Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. Stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. Welcome, PR Maven Nation, to this week's episode, one of our mini episodes, a quick and informative look at the number one rule in business. The podcast is presented by Marshall Communications, creator of the 65-step Marshall Plan process. For more information, visit marshallpr.com. And on the website under PR Maven, you will find information about my two books, PR Works and Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand. This week, I will be sharing my Forbes Agency Council article entitled, "Don't Forget the Number One Rule in Business. Look people in the eye and say their name." So let's dive right in. During the holiday season, I spent many days reflecting on the lessons learned from my father. In a personal and professional sense, he taught me how to behave in public and set me up for success today. The lessons from my late father resonated because they were simple and straightforward. He often told me to remember the simplest rule when meeting new people. Look people in the eye and say their name. In truth, it's the number one rule in business. Treat people like people and humanize your relationships. Recently, my son Jamie and I had dinner with one of my first bosses in business, Warren Cook, the president of the ski resort where I worked as the communications director in my 20s. Warren asked Jamie if he remembered my late father, who was a sales engineer for Westinghouse. In that capacity, my father leveraged an unusual combination of sales and people skills, as well as engineering skills. Warren said to my son, "Your grandfather was a look you in the eye kind of guy." I was flattered that Warren remembered my dad, who was the consummate relationship builder. That's why he had a long and successful career in electrical equipment sales. And that's why his lessons rubbed off so much on his impressionable daughter. My father died of Parkinson's disease in 2006, but I miss him every day, and I credit him for helping me to launch a long and fulfilling career in public relations. When first meeting a new person, my father would shake that person's hand, look them in the eye, and then tell them he was pleased to meet them. He would also repeat their name so the other person knew that they were recognized and appreciated on a human level. From the moment we are all born, we hear our parents repeating our names and looking us in the eye, and that human connection, a sign of pure love, is a stored memory in our brains that endures forever. If you can replicate that feeling for other people in business, you will be remembered. And by repeating the other person's name, you will store it in your own mind. Never forget that one word, a name, is the sweetest sound in the language to any human being. Eye contact may be self-explanatory, but there's more to it than proper etiquette, though that is more important. As the etiquette coach Micah Meyer explains, different kinds of social connections are formed based on which eye you make direct contact with. To appear more likable, you should look into a person's left eye. Lean in gently, and you'll make that person feel like you're talking to them in a warm kind of way. To appear more authoritative, however, you should look into a person's right eye. Whereas the left eye conveys compassion, the right eye is associated with power. Good to know, right? Going back to childhood, eye contact is integral to a baby's emotional, mental, and social development. It is also the best way for parents to track their baby's development. Eye contact means that a child is taking interest in and reacting to the people around them. Fast forward to your professional life, and eye contact remains a necessity. Remember that all business is by and between human beings. So making a powerful connection with someone else makes you more memorable in the long run. You will be the one who people remember when they need a product or service. Being top of mind helps with attracting customers and helping them come back for more. It makes your client development and retention more successful since you stand out in a crowd of competitors. In the end, you want to be the one who gets the call when an opportunity arises. But that doesn't happen if you're not memorable. Think of your own life. When people look you in the eye and say your name, don't you feel more recognized and appreciated? I sure do. Spread the wealth, embrace your humanity, and don't forget my father's simplest rule in business. For more insight, get access to my latest book, Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, by visiting prmaven.com/giveaway and download a free copy today. Here is my good friend Mike Duguay talking about how this podcast has helped him in his business at Thomas College, working with entrepreneurs.
I'm a prolific listener and reader of things that really relate to innovation, entrepreneurship, and marketing. And when I happened on to Nancy's podcast, I literally was blown away. I listen to things nationally, people that are really acclaimed for what they do. And my personal opinion is that Nancy's got one of the best podcasts going at the moment, but also I think over time, I've gone back and really re-listened to many of those that are in the archives, and they are fantastic. And I would put her up against any other podcaster. It's a light, very flowing interview style. I know that just by listening that the people on the other end are extremely comforting. And she's not trying to one-up on the other person. They're both experts on that podcast, but I really like the fact that Nancy's trying to also learn something every time she interviews. And that comes really, I think, through to me when I'm listening to that as well. And I always learn something.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. I invite you to share a review of the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you use an Alexa device, use your Alexa app to search the skills and games section to find and enable the PR Maven podcast flash briefing. This will give you access to exclusive content and more PR and marketing advice. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.